Okay, hi guys. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to animate a walk cycle, and the idea is to make this as simple as possible to understand and to get you animating really quickly and also get good results quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is put AutoKey on. Because I've got this pose that you're seeing here, I've got this saved on -1. What I don't want to do is offset that pose and ruin it and lose it. So I'm going to put AutoKey on, and I'm just going to simplify a couple of things. So I'm going to grab the pelvis controller, and down here I've got the move tool selected, and down at the bottom I'm just going to right click on the Y value just to zero that value out. So I'm just right clicking on the spinner next to that value. I'm now going to take the character's left foot, and I'm going to put a world value of 40 in the Y value box. So that's going to push the left foot back. And now I'm going to select the right foot, and I'm going to put a value of -30 in there. So if you work from the center of the grid, and that's obviously your 0 Y value, we've got -30 moving forwards and +40 moving back. So we've basically got a distance of 70 units between the 2 feet. So what we can do now is start to animate. So what I'm going to do here is, first actually I'm just going to take this timeline and just focus in on the first 30 frames. So this is a second of animation. And yeah, what I'm going to do is right click on the move tool up here at the top of the viewport to bring up the offset world values. And this will just save you having to add things up and do simple maths. So these values will always say 0, so we can just work from a 0 value. So yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is obviously with this pose set, it's not quite there yet, so I'm just going to go to my Modify tab, select the right foot, and I'm going to put a foot roll value of 10 in here. So this will just keep it really simple to remember. And I'll take the back foot and put a value of -10 in for the foot roll. So now we've got a more natural pose on frame 0. Now what I need to do is probably keyframe these values. So just in case they haven't already been keyframed, I'll select all 3 controllers and press K. Now we can't technically keyframe these foot roll values yet because we're on frame 0, but I'll show you how to do that as we go forwards. So all I've done is just make sure that all 3 controls are keyframed. I'm now going to go to frame 15, so this is going to be the first step. We're basically going to have a full cycle over 30 frames. So one foot will step forwards on frame 15, and then the next step will be on frame 30. So obviously the back foot's going to be stepping forwards. What I don't want to do is take this 70 units forwards because it's just going to be aligned with the front foot. So I'm actually going to take this Y value and put a value of -140 in here. So obviously 140 is 2 times 70. Hit enter, and this pushes the foot forwards. What I need to do next is take the foot roll value and change that from -10 to 10, and that will keyframe the foot roll value. And you can see there's a red bracket around the spinner. If I go back to 0, that's been keyframed there too. So that's the first step forwards. I'm now going to grab the pelvis, and in the Y offset value box I'm going to type in -70. So that's going to push the pelvis forward too. And there's a couple of things we need to do. We need to keyframe this foot that doesn't technically move. This foot will rotate but not move. And you'll notice there's no keyframe on 15. So it's really important, unless you want to mess about later, to just keyframe this foot. So if I press K, that foot has now been keyframed in that position. And I can take the foot roll value and put that to -10. So there's our first step completed. So that's the character stepping forwards with his left leg. All I need to do now is just repeat that process. So what I'm going to do next is take this back foot, go to frame 30, type in -140 into the offset world Y value box. That'll step that foot forwards. I'm now going to take the foot roll value and put that to 10. So if it's -10, the next keyframe will be 10, and if it's 10, it will be -10. So there we go. That's the right foot stepping forwards. And of course, I now need to take the pelvis and type in -70 in the Y box, the Y offset box. to push that forwards correctly. I now need to take this foot here, the left foot, which again, just like with the right foot on 15, hasn't been keyframed because it's not moving, and I just need to make sure I do keyframe it. So I'm going to press K, and I'm going to take the foot roll value and put that to -10. So there we are. It's as simple as that. So if I just play the animation back, it's far from perfect, but this is what you want to be keyframing in initially. From here, we just need to clean things up and add in some in-between keys. And I'll try and keep this really, really simple as we do this. So the first thing I need to do is add in a bit of up and down movement on the pelvis. And I could use the offset values to do this. So I could kind of work out how much I want to go here. So it might be that I go to frame 5, take the pelvis, and in the Z offset world value, I could just put -2, for example, and that will just drop the pelvis down and set a keyframe on 5. I'm then going to go to 10, and I'm going to take that Z value, the offset world Z value, and I'm going to type in 2 and hit enter. So that's a +2, sending it back up again. So this is just adding in a bit of up and down motion. And actually, if I just undo that, I might just put 3 in there just to take it a bit higher. So it's -2 on 5 and then +3 on 10. So now we've got a nice up and down motion, and I just need to keyframe this in again between 15 and 30. So I'll go to frame 20 and just type in -2, go to frame 25 and type in 3. So there's the up and down added. If I play this back, it's looking a bit more natural now. The pelvis is going up and down as the character moves forward. It still doesn't look very good. So there's a couple of things we can do now to improve this. And for this, you'll need to open your curve editor. So if I just open that up, try not to dock it, just pull it out a tiny bit. Yeah, basically what I need to do here is look at the 2 curves that I've keyframed. So that's the Z curve, which is this one here. So I'm just going to zoom horizontal and vertical here, and just zoom out a tiny bit so I can see what's going on. And basically this curve needs to repeat forever. And at the moment there's acceleration at the start and deacceleration at the end. And of course we don't see that on frame 15, we just see a constant, and I can just tweak that, a pretty constant flow there. So to get the equivalent effects that we're seeing on frame 15 on 0 and 30, I just need to take this key here, hold down Shift to break the tangent, and then just pull that down like that, and take this key here and pull it up like that. And you can imagine now this curve repeating infinitely, and basically the curve between 20 and 25 and 30 flowing into 0 and 5. Ignore obviously this point here. This is just the pose that's stored on -1. And that's all we have to do with this curve, and that will help a tiny bit. If I look at the Y curve, so if I select Y position, click frame horizontal and vertical, what we're seeing here is a similar problem. So it's there's a slight amount of acceleration, not much to be honest, to be fair, but there's a lot of deacceleration at the end. Because this is a cycle, and I'm assuming that he's already walking before frame 0, and he's going to carry on walking after frame 30, we need to take out any acceleration and deacceleration. And to be honest, the easiest way to do this is just to select all these keys in the middle and delete them, so get rid of them. So if I select them, hit delete on the keyboard, I can then take these 2 remaining keys, obviously not -1, but 0 and 30, and set the tangent to linear. And that's going to take out any issues with the timing. So now when I play this back, it looks a lot smoother, and yeah, it's working a lot better. So I can close this down now and just focus on the feet. So there's various ways to tackle the feet. I think I'm just going to show you the easiest way to do it. So if you look at the Animator Survival Kit illustration on Blackboard, you'll notice that if we look at the key poses, we've got something like this. But very soon after that, the foot that's forward is flat. And the problem we've got here is if I tween from 0 to 15, this front foot slowly tweens down. It's flat on frame 7, and then it's up again, tweening into 15. And we need to hold that down, basically, for most of this tween in between 0 and 15. So I'm going to select the right foot controller, And I'm basically going to go to frame 2 and then just zero out the foot roll value. So the foot roll value is on roughly a value of 9. I'm going to zero that out and that'll flatten the foot. And then I'll probably do something like go to frame 12, possibly 11, and let's try 12. I'm going to go to frame 12 and right click on the foot roll controller again just to zero it out. And if I play that back, it's just going to look a lot stronger. So the foot remains flat now from 2 to 12, and it only tweens up between 12 and 15. So if I do that for the other foot, obviously that will occur here on the second part of the animation. So if I go to frame 17, right click on the foot roll value to zero it out, and then go to frame 27, again right click on the foot roll value, I can create a similar effect. So if we play this back, it's looking okay. The only thing missing now is the passing position, so the foot that's stepping forward. We just need to move that up and rotate it to get that working. So I'll probably find a pose where maybe frame 7, where we've got the foot, both feet pretty much aligned to each other. And I'll take the left foot to begin with. So the left foot steps forward between 0 and 15. And what I'm going to do is go to frame 7, lift it up and rotate it down. And I'm going to rotate it down quite a bit and just pull it up. What you don't want to do is push this too high up like this. I'd probably have it just skimming the ground. So you just want the tip of the toe almost touching the ground. So something like this. And if I do the same thing over here, so I think that would be about frame 22, let's say. So on frame 22, if I take the right foot, pull that up. Oh, I just realized my mistake actually. So if we just have a look at that, and it's easily done. So the problem we've got here is I've set a rotation key on frame 7 for this passing position, but I didn't set a rotation key on frame 15. So when I get to frame 15, the foot's still angled down. So of course I could probably just zero out some rotation values, get it flat again. But actually the easiest thing to do would be to just undo that. So undo that foot rotation. So get it back to here. And actually what I'm going to do is go to frame 15, keyframe, so press K on the keyboard to keyframe a rotation key on 15. I'm now going to go back to frame 7 and rotate this foot down. And I might just have to pull that up again. But if you look at the difference, now it comes down flat rather than being rotated through the ground. Obviously it's not completely flat because the foot's being angled up via the foot roll controller, but yeah, this is a much better way of working. So let's just do that properly on this other foot. So this foot steps forward 15 to 30. So the first thing I'll do is go to frame 30, press K to set a rotation key so that we don't have any issues when we get to frame 30. So now I'm going to go to frame 22, move this foot up and rotate it down. So yeah, again, something like that should be fine. So if let's have a look. If we look at this walk now, it should look pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty natural. The character's walking forwards, and yeah, it looks fine. I mean, this is just the basics. There's a lot more to add. There's the upper body stuff to add in as well. But you know, even if you get your walk to this stage, it's going to look pretty good, especially from the side. And of course, if you want to keep this walk going, you just keep doing what I did. So moving one foot forward 140 units, moving the pelvis 70 units, setting up the feet using the foot roll values and adding in those in-betweens. So yeah, probably a couple of things I'll look at before I finish this tutorial, and probably the most important is weight shift. So if I look at this animation from the front, there's no weight shift. It looks really strange. It doesn't look very realistic. And what I mean by weight shift is the character doesn't shift his pelvis weight, his body weight, over the foot that's taking the weight. So what you'll find is with a walk cycle, around about frame 7 or 8, all of the weight of the character is being held, is being taken by this foot here, the foot planted on the ground. And if we don't show that in the pelvis, there's no feeling of balance. And if there's no feeling of balance, there's no feeling of weight. And what I could do is try and add the weight shift in the viewport, but actually an easier way might be to do this in the in the curves. It would also mean I wouldn't be creating any extra keys as well if I did it through the curves. So if I open the curve editor again, the weight shift is going to occur on the x-axis. So I'm going to look at the x position curve. I'm going to click on frame horizontal and value extends. And what we can see here is no movement. So a flat horizontal line means there's nothing happening. And of course we want something to happen. We want to show weight shift. And basically we can look at how this would occur. So basically on frame 5, when all the weight's on the right foot, we need to shift the body over onto that foot. And as I do this in the viewport, you'll notice that the red curve on over frame 5 starts to dip. So basically I can kind of get an idea of how much weight shift I need. And it might be I need something like -5 looking at this. And once I know that, I can take these two keys and put a value down here in the bottom of the curve editor window. I can put a value of -5 just to dip that curve down there, and of course shift the weight over onto this right foot. And of course the opposite will occur over here in the timeline. So I can just take these two keys over 20 and 25 and put a value of 5 in there. So +5. Now this is going to look a bit robotic. We've got acceleration here at the start, deacceleration at the end, and it's going to hold. It's going to look a bit weird. So if I play this back, it doesn't look very natural. But you can start to see the idea and what we're trying to do here. To smooth this out, it's really simple. If I just grab all these keys and set the tangent type, the preset, to smooth, which is this one here. So it's the last preset in your tangent type list. So if I click on this option here, you'll see it'll just smooth out the curve. Now it's not quite working because of that pose stored on -1. So what I might do is just take this key on 0, set it back to auto, maybe just pull the tangent handle down a tiny bit. But it's a similar concept to the up and down movement. We want this to flow and to keep going infinitely. So if I close this down now and play this back, you'll see it just looks a lot more solid. It looks a lot more believable, a lot more realistic, because he's shifting his weight onto the foot taking the weight. And of course you could exaggerate that more, or you could tone it down if you thought this was too much. The only other thing I might do is just turn off auto key and just put these feet a tiny bit closer together. So by taking off auto key, I can offset the animation, and I'm not technically destroying the animation here. I'm just changing all of the keys basically. So I'm just going to put those feet closer together. So we've now got weight shift from the front view, and from the side it's looking pretty natural. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Of course there's the arm swing to add, rotation in the pelvis, rotation in the body, some head bob. There's a lot more you can do with this, but this is really a video tutorial just to get you guys started and to get you thinking about how to approach a walk cycle.